Alright, welcome back to the Sci-Fi Book Layout Project Part 4. In this tutorial we're going to talk about how to incorporate textures in your design. So I've done some paint over in this image here, and I'm going to show you how to do that in the next tutorial. I keep saying I'm going to show you how to paint and how you paint, but I think I'll save it for the next one because I think it's a better idea to focus on textures. So I have here a folder called Textures Original where I have a couple of rust textures, some metal textures in here. And you can get textures like this online. There's all kinds of free sites out there. Textures.com is a great site. So is textureking.com. So any of those sites that you can find that are online, you could also purchase your own textures. But let's go ahead and perhaps use maybe this one in this image here. So what I'll do is I'll turn off the other layer here, and I'm going to duplicate this layer. So I'm going to collapse my properties here just by double clicking on it, and I'll make a copy of this just by holding the Alt key and drag this to make another copy of it. And I'm going to then drag it outside the group here just so we have an example here. Collapse this and then turn off this. So here's the texture, and it's quite large for my image here. What I'm thinking of is to apply it to some of the areas here in the back here where I've kind of painted. So I could scale it down by hitting Control T or Command T on a Mac, and then just grab a corner and kind of scale down. Now if I wanted the texture to actually wrap around something, I could right click in here and go to warp, and then I could start manipulating points. But I think just actually a flat texture like this would be okay for most areas. So what I'm going to do is have it kind of overlap most of this area in here, and then just hit enter to accept my translations. And then I'm going to change the blend mode. So instead of normal here, I'm going to switch to overlay. Overlay tends to be the go-to for most textures. And so I've been working on my whole series in this work project folder. So I think I'm just going to drag it into here, into this folder, and it'll be on the top here in the stack. And then to clip it, all I got to do is hold the Alt key between these two layers. You can see all these arrows going down, and I've essentially clipped to this merge copy here. I showed you that last time. So if we just hold the Alt key between these two layers and click, you can see it's being clipped down here. So all these are clipped to this one merge copy right here. So and that's just a lot of texture. I don't want all that texture everywhere, and I may not even want it at that amount. So overall, you can definitely drop the opacity of that texture. I grabbed the fill accidentally, but the opacity here, and I may want to do that. But the way I like to work with textures is once I have it, is to hide it immediately through a mask. So if I click on the mask icon here with the Alt or Option key and click, I create a filled mask. Now you can do it another way just by clicking on a mask and then just hitting Control I, and that creates a filled mask, inside the mask there. But when you're inside the mask, grab your paintbrush with a soft brush. So again, grab your brushes. Again, go to Window and Brush Settings to access this. But here it is, and grab that soft brush and basically, make it quite large. You can use the right bracket key to kind of make it kind of big. And I like to drop the opacity around 30% usually to start off. And I want it to be, since it's a filled mask, to paint with white. And then wherever I paint, I'll sort of bring that texture out. And I'm just using my mouse to actually do this, but it's really great, especially these painted areas here where I kind of paint over. I can kind of add some texture there, and it just gives a little more life to that area. So that's basically what I'm doing here, is just kind of painting in these areas. Anywhere else that I want to add it that already has like a metal texture, I can do that too, which is really cool. So you can repeat the same process with rust or other materials. You can see here I've got some rust on the plane, some other rust in other areas. Be wary of edge lines. Looks like there's like an edge line of rust there. I don't know if that's from the actual photograph or from my texture. So we'll see about that. But those kind of things, may I just paint over it to kind of correct it. But those are the kind of things to worry about. So basically that's all you got to do, and then you just keep repeating that process. You could duplicate this texture and put it on another area. So if I want this to be over here, all I have to do is hold the Alt key, and or I could even pull out my layers a little bit. I'm going to right click in the gray area here and then go down to, let's see, oh, it's up here, duplicate layer, and then just click OK. And this one, I'll delete the mask, and I'll change the blend mode temporarily to normal just so I can see the texture, and kind of move it over on this side over here. And then again, I will hold the Alt key or Option key on the Mac to click and create a mask, and then just change the blend mode from normal to overlay. And then when I pan the mask, again, it's going to bring out, going to be inside the mask. Wherever I paint, it's going to bring back that metal texture in any of these areas here with white. You can start to see some of that texture kind of appear in here. So you can be very selective where you want that texture to be, which is really nice. You just have to be wary about the edges. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll actually set it to normal for certain areas, and if I see an edge line, if I don't see an edge line clearly, then I'm okay with it. I can go back to overlay. A lot of times I do like to drop the opacity. I usually don't want to go a full 100% on these textures. So both of these I drop the opacity a little bit. It's around 60%, seems to be pretty good. This one in the back seems a little bit more subtle, so I might actually bring that back up to 100%. Again, if you paint with a lower opacity, you'll bring back the texture in a more subtle way. So that's textures in a nutshell for this tutorial series. And the next tutorial, I swear, we will definitely go over painting. Stay tuned until next time in Adobe Photoshop. Cheers!